Here.
Counselor Barbara Casey,
Present.
Counselor Michael Montoya,
Present.
Counselor David Ulivari.
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We do have a quorum.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to just take a few moments just to ask for a blessing among all of us that are in this room here to make decisions, and we ask that we're guided to make the best decisions for the public at all times. And I'm thankful for all my colleagues up here and for Mr. Romero, who's on Zoom at this meeting. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I have a recommendation for an amendment to the approval of the agenda to remove the presentation, which is the first presentation by Fire Chief Span, and he'll be presenting on one of the meetings in December.
Very well. Thank you. With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
There's a motion on the floor by Ms. Casey. Second, please.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Mr. Ulibarri. Roll call, please.
Counselor Montoya,
Yes.
Counselor Ulivari,
Yes.
Counselor Romero. Counselor Romero? I think you're muted.
Yes.
Counselor Casey.
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Ulivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
We have, next on our agenda is public input. We have no public input this evening.
Okay.
Moving on to executive session.
I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Mayor, a question.
Yes.
First of all, are there going to be two separate entities? There's two items listed there, so will they be two separate entities with one motion, or do you want to make two separate motions?
I think it would be okay to go with one motion for both, right?
Okay, and then we would call people in as they're required.
Mhm.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I move that the council leave regular session and move into executive session in accordance with the New Mexico Open Meetings Act, NMSA 1978, Section 10-15-1, H2, Limited Personnel Matters, discussion regarding the police chief, and H5, collective bargaining strategy, discussion regarding the International Association of Firefighters collective bargaining unit agreement.
There's a motion on the floor to go into executive session. I'll entertain a second, please.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second, roll call, please. Second by Mr. Ulibarri. Roll call, please.
Counselor Romero? Counselor Romero? You're muted again.
It's on.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Ulivari?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Ulivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. We will go with the first item first. If you could vacate the chambers until further notice. Thank you.
that we reconvene into regular session after having met an executive session in accordance with the Open Meetings Act, NMSA 1978, Section 10-15-1 and Section 10-15-H, H1 again for collective bargaining and also for discussion regarding the police chief. No action was taken and on either item.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor to enter executive regular session. I'll entertain a second.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Counselor
Roll call,
Montoya?
please.
Yes.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
We lose them again.
Counselor Romero?
Are we plugged in up there?
Yes.
Can you hear us, Counselor Romero?
You have to go back to the other.
Breaking out now. Try him now.
Counselor Romero, can you hear us? Yes? Okay.
I think you might be on mute, David.
Still can't hear you.
We can't hear you, David. Mr. Romero. Do you vote to go back into regular session?
Yes.
Yes?
His lips.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Read those.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Olivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is mayor's appointments, reports, recognitions, and proclamations.
For the sake of time, I'll forego that for until next week.
Next is councilors' reports.
Councilors?
Also, for the sake of not being here all night, I'll save mine for next week also.
Any councilors? No? Very well. Next order of business, please.
City managers' report. Mr. Maestas.
Mr. Maestas?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I won't be able to show you my slides, but I can send them to you after the fact. So I'd like to start off by welcoming our new city employees. There's two this past month. Mr. Vincent Robinson is the maintenance worker one in our Parks Division, and obviously Mr. Timothy Montgomery, which is our finance director. Moving on, I'd like to we had a West Las Vegas hosted the district tournament for cross country at our Rodriguez Park this past weekend. They had over 100 athletes that competed at Rodriguez Park and over 400 attendees with parents and spectators. Our Public Works Department and Parks Division coordinated with the West Las Vegas School District to create a new track. It'll be a temporary track that was used this year, but we do have funding to create a walking path / track around the whole property in the future. But it was well attended. A lot of the school districts were really impressed with not having to run on rough surfaces like they do at other districts. Just some general concrete improvements around town. One of them that's been there for quite some time is that valley gutter on Douglas, just past the post office as you're going west. That was completed. There's improvements or some asphalt that got removed and is being reinstalled. It was reinstalled today on Railroad. That was something that we were waiting on to complete that project and close that one out. Ms. Gilberry did inform me that we did get the DOT approval to move forward with the boring or the trenching across Caddy Corner on New Mexico and Hot Springs, so we can continue with that project. That was something that we've been waiting on for a while. And other improvements are obviously across the city. That Legion Drive project is continuing to move forward. We're in the 70% design phase with the university project. Ms. Al-Assad at Senior Center has started the parking improvements, parking lot improvements with a contractor that was RFP with the city. Lastly, I want to just talk quickly about our city holiday events that are going to be taking place. The city is hosting a turkey trot event, which is a 10K and a 5K. The 10K starts at the Montezuma Pond, and the 5K starts at the county fairgrounds. That's taking place on November 23rd at 7 a.m. The Plaza Park tree lighting event starts or is conducting on November 30th at 5 p.m. That's the weekend right after Thanksgiving. We're having a blood drive at the Recreation Center on December 1st and 2nd. That's taking place for a good duration of the day. Again, that's at the Recreation Center, a blood drive. Our electric light parade is scheduled for December 2nd. That obviously takes place right as the sun goes down. We are also doing a first annual event, and maybe Councilor Romero can kind of give us a briefing on what we're trying to do. We're trying to do a smaller version of something like they do at the River of Lights in Albuquerque. They also do it in Pecos, in Carlsbad on the Pecos River. They do another event there that really is well attended. This year, we want to try to fund it. We're also collaborating with numerous nonprofits and businesses throughout the city that they're welcome to set up electric locations along the Riverwalk, and that would be from Bridge Street going south towards the first bridge, crossing the bridge over towards the West Las Vegas School District, and then heading back to Bridge Street. So we're hoping that we can get all that, like I said, in a smaller version this year, starting on the 2nd, the same night as Electric Light Parade, and it would go through the month of December. So our residents and children of the city of Las Vegas can have something nice to walk out in there. And lastly, we have Santa in the Park on December 15th. And I believe that's from 12 to 3 at Plaza Park. So I'll be sending those slides to Mayor and Council, but I can answer any other questions if you have any.
Could you do me a favor and send out a calendar with all the stuff that you mentioned?
Yes, sir.
I didn't catch a few of the dates, so thank you. Next order of business, please. Thank you, Mr. Maestas.
Mr. Mayor, we have approval of minutes for October 18th, 2023.
Mr. Mayor.
There's a motion to approve the minutes for October 18th by Mr. Montoya. Second, please.
Second, and the minutes were perfect.
Right on. Second by Ms. Casey. Roll call, please.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Romero? I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, a second by Counselor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you for a good job, Cassandra. Please relay that to your staff.
I certainly will. Thank you, Mayor. Next on the agenda is presentations, not to exceed 10 to 15 minutes. We have one presentation by Camila Bustamante with New Mexico Workforce Integration Network. She's speaking about their incarceration program. And she's with us virtually.
Welcome, Ms. Bustamante. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. We cannot hear you.
Ma'am, are you there? We can hear you now.
It seems that we're having the same problem.
You're good.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, honorable councilors. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you today. We have the Workforce Integration Network, and I'm going to give you a portion of a presentation that we have done recently of the North Central New Mexico Economic Development $6.4 million grant to put North Central New Mexico to work. Specifically, we're focusing on the sectors of construction trades and healthcare. We are working with the Regional Development Corporation as well as Corners to Excellence. The RDC oversees the construction trades, Corners to Excellence oversees the healthcare. And this basically is for us to regionalize our efforts with recognition that the populations in the southern part of the state and the central part of the state are much higher than if we were to work together with Santa Fe, Los Alamos, Rio Arriba, San Miguel, Mora, and Colfax and Taos, that working together, we have a larger pool of people. We're creating pathways for and underemployed people. One thing that we have also come to acknowledge is that we have people who are overemployed, meaning that they have more than one job, and they're not able to make even a prevailing wage doing so. So we are charged with helping and supporting people with wraparound services to get people where they need to go. We are working with our Latino and our indigenous populations as well. And I've mentioned the counties that we're working with. The project is to address the need for qualified workers. And if there's anything that does make our country great, is a simple fact that we have infrastructure that works, and that would be electricity, plumbing. Our built infrastructure is our backbone in this country. And that being said, we're working to serve to get more people back into jobs and building back our communities, as well as strengthening the network for all of our communities between each of those counties. Also providing life skill training, wraparound services for the project participants. If there's anything that I had experienced as dean at both Northern New Mexico College and at Santa Fe Community College, where I am retired from, was that there were students who sat across from me and said, you know, Dr. Bustamante, I'm not going to be able to finish because I have a child and I need to I can't afford a babysitter. So I actually have to drop out so that I can be home and take care of my child. And that's the wrong way to go about it. We've got to be able to provide that support for a person. So we're using a platform called Unite Us that connects all of those wraparound services. A person gets in there, then we're able to connect them to this type of support that they need in their community. Healthcare, or childcare, was just an example of one. One of the big ones that we're finding in Las Vegas, and I'm really grateful to our navigator, Camille Atkinson, who was on the call earlier but had to step off, is getting people the transportation that they need in San Miguel County. We have worked with students to get them gas cards. We actually repaired a vehicle so that students were able to get to Luna and be in the classes that they signed up for so that they can be successful. So working with us, what we have for you all is a platform, and I am so proud and have actually boasted the effort of Mayor Trujillo in working with those who are pre-trial and saying, all right, what kind of support can we get you in advance? We'll refer you, get you that support, get you into a training program, and then they'll be employable by the city, the city of Taos. This is a tool that is right now being used in Santa Fe. So Santa Fe County and the city of Santa Fe created what is called Santa Fe Connect. We are making this tool available to all of the municipalities in the 7 counties. So you have a license that we have available for you as part of our contract. That is one way that we can collaborate with you so that we can connect all of Northern New Mexico to the services and in their ability to get the training and then the employment. This is part of what the governor signed last year for the $3 million for these Connect services that were specifically tied to Medicaid and Medicare. We're taking it one step further. We're working with Secretary Nyad from the Department of Workforce Solutions and saying, yeah, we can get people their Medicaid and Medicare referrals. We can get people transitional housing out of the jail. But what we're also doing is taking it a step further and getting people to employment, getting them to training, to employment, so they can be successful in our communities. And again, we're doing this collectively in the 7 counties because we have the population that can actually help us meet the needs in our entire area. We are also funded for a mobile training unit that was funded by the local 412. That will be available in every community. The remote communities can actually have the folks come to a central location. The mobile unit can take them through all the OSHA training, all of the front pre-apprenticeship, and then help people move into those apprenticeship seats right where they live. And that is actually, we were really hoping that would have been able to drive up when we were in Taos last week. Last week was our biannual convening, and we were waiting for the mobile unit and found out it's got a little bit of a delay. So now they're expecting to literally roll it out into Espanola Our next meeting is going to be in Las Vegas. I would love to have you all be there and talk about the successes that we've had and how we're working together in April. We're also having an articulation between industry training and higher ed. So if someone does get trained by the mobile unit, the qualifications that they also get them credit at Luna. Get them credit. Now, one of the questions that we had when we were doing the assessment was, why can a student take the welding 110 at Luna and then they go to Northern New Mexico College and they're saying that they have to take the same class again? Oh, because that was MIG and TIG welding and they didn't get the MIG part, or they're teaching this particular component. As part of this grant, all of the institutions are going to get the same training statewide. That's just another pretty picture of the mobile training unit. So if you see it, you will have seen it before. So what we have here, the social support, we're working with people in SUD recovery, substance use disorder. We're talking about people who've been adjudicated or are pre-trial. We're talking about people who just basically have a need. For the example that I gave is someone who just didn't have the gas. We can give them a gas card so that they can get through their EMT program, right? We have the industry partners. This is all of the contractors who are saying, hey, we need workers. Okay, good. Industry, how do you work with all of us so that you can pull together the resources that you have to help us meet your need? For those of you who have done this kind of work, you have been in a room with a lot of support services all around us, and the employers, they come and see how we're doing, and then they leave. This is really the opportunity to bring the industry together so that the industry can start better identifying, and this is all pre-competition, obviously, better identify where their gaps are. Is it just in the employment? Is it supply chain, right? Padilla's HVAC is going to have a harder time buying copper unless they're partnering with Janus Corp. And Janus, they have copper because they buy at the scale that gets them a better deal. Now that Padilla and Janus wants to outsource Padilla for some HVAC work in San Miguel County, but they can't because, well, Padilla, it's going to cost them too much and their bid is way too high. So they're going to drag someone up from Albuquerque. We can do better than that. We can partner. Everybody gets together. They can get their commodity at the scale that helps Padilla buy it at a lower cost. Janus Corp can get a decent bid. We're employing people locally. That's just one simple example of how we can actually have the industry work to support our communities. And then the education and training. Again, Luna is working with Santa Fe Community College, UNM Taos, UNMLA, Northern New Mexico College, and did I already say Santa Fe Community College? But all of them are working together. The 5 institutions making sure that everything is aligned to provide those students the support they need where they are. I got to back up on that one. The other thing right in the middle is we're working with the Workforce Solutions offices. All of our navigators sit in Workforce Solutions. This Unite Us platform, for the first time ever, the White Cost system, which is the one that Workforce has, Workforce Solutions, is very linear. With this closed loop system, now if they have someone going in to apply for unemployment and get some help finding a job, but they say, but I also need some help with my utilities until I can get this job, we can actually have a referral to somebody who can help with that financial assistance and all the way track them all the way to the front door of their job. So we are partnering with DWS, and again, Secretary Nair is waiting to see the success in our communities. And I'm looking forward to seeing those people be employed by the city of Las Vegas, because I think it's going to be a great story to tell everyone. Everybody's looking forward to that. And I'm convincing other communities who have looked and realized how smart that is. So thank you, Mayor Trujillo. Again, the backbones for the Regional Development Corporation, construction trades, healthcare, Dr. Veronica Sanchez for Cornerstones to Health. North Central is the lead on this grant. We work with now, we have 2 strong backbone convenings. This is a breakdown of the budget of what we've spent thus far. This faculty is split among the 5 institutions that we've shared. The supplies and other, that breaks down into some of the work that we've provided to the clients. Again, the majority of those clients, the support has gone to San Miguel County, specifically for those students at Luna. And that basically is a breakdown. I won't read it to you, but you can see where this money has been going. And we have $750,000 for client support that has not been tapped. That 755, the money that we've been able to use so far has been money that had not been spent yet. So we have $755,000 to support programs, projects, training organizations, people who will get people to the front door given their qualifications. So contacts, workforce development, I'm right here. My number is 455-6562. You all have my email. I am so grateful to be with you tonight. I would have loved to be in Las Vegas, one of my favorite places. My mom was an undergrad there. My family all went to school there, except myself. They sent me to Arizona. Triste. But anyway, I love Las Vegas, and I'm super grateful to have the opportunity to share this information with you tonight.
Thank
I'm
you.
open to questions.
Thank you, Dr. Bustamante. You know, I'm really excited. I think the more I read into this and look at the model, I'm convinced that we're going to be able to employ a lot of people to the city of Las Vegas with these programs. And at this point, we need all the help we can get to bring employees to the city. And Darlene has already been working closely with Workforce Solutions and so forth. And so this is exciting. So maybe at some other point we can off of this meeting we can sit together and have a meeting about next steps.
Thank you. I'm happy to do so, Mr. Mayor, and with any of the counselors as you see fit.
Thank you so much. So I'll be in contact with you and Darlene, and maybe we can set up a meeting to discuss next steps and getting involved.
Thank you sincerely, and thank you for the opportunity to share.
And thank you to Councilor Romero for helping to set this up as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, moving on to business items. Our first business item is request approval of addendum number 2 for contract 383222. This is White Sands Drug and Alcohol Compliance. We have our HR Director, Ms. Darlene Arguello.
Hey, Darlene, welcome again.
Good evening again. So tonight I have an addendum number 2 to our White Sands Drug and Alcohol policy. I'm a little, not policy, I'm sorry, agreement. I'm a little early. It doesn't actually expire until January, but I wanted to kind of catch it right away. So
Thank you.
at this point, there are no changes in the scope of work or fees or anything. So everything will remain the same.
Thank you. What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of addendum 2 for contract 3832-22, White Sands Drug and Alcohol Compliance.
There's a motion on the floor by Ms. Casey. Second, please.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Mr. Olivari. Roll call, please.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari? I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Olivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. Thanks, Darlene.
Moving on, item 2, request approval of addendum number 2 to contract 383522 with Stantec Consulting Services Incorporated for professional engineering services as needed for utility, street, and drainage improvements on Hot Springs Boulevard. We have our Utilities Director, Maria Gilberry.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This addendum is, as the clerk stated, is for Stantec. They're continuing on the engineering services required for the utility, street, and drainage work that's occurring on Hot Springs. As the city manager mentioned, we did finally get the permit from DOT, so we'll be moving forward with the work across Mills, but the engineer's services are still required.
Thank you. What's the pleasure of the council? Any discussion? I'll entertain a motion. Mr. Romero?
So Maria, just for the record, the contract is basically just extending the term. No additional monetary or budget has been added to this, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
With that, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of addendum 2 to contract 3835-22. to Stantec Consulting Services for professional engineering services as needed for utility, street, and drainage improvements on Hot Springs Boulevard.
There's a motion on the floor by Ms. Casey. Second, please.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Mr. Ulibarri. Roll call, please.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey? Counselor Montoya? Counselor Olivari? I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Olivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Council.
Thank you.
Wait for
I know.
to be fixed.
Everyone on Hot Springs. Next order of business,
Item
please.
number 3, request approval for out-of-state travel for City Manager Leo Maestas and Counselor David Romero to attend the NALEO Policy Institute on Health, Creating Pathways Toward Latino Wellbeing, taking place on November 16th through 17th, 2023. Mr. Maestas?
Yes, Mayor and Council. Councilor Romero brought to my attention that there was a institute coming up now at the end of the month or middle of this month, and there was a scholarship application that you can apply for, which pays for travel and for the lodging while we attend it. And we both applied for that scholarship. We were both recipients of that scholarship. So it's at no cost to the city for us to travel to this.
Very well.
Mr. Mayor?
So, Mr.
Mr. Romero?
Go ahead.
I just want to clarify, I sent it to every one of you guys also.
That's right.
Yeah,
And it wasn't.
I couldn't go.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to request that when we have our next council meeting in December, that Councilor Romero and our city manager report to us what they learned over there so that we know what was going on.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Montoya?
I would like to make a motion to request approval for out-of-state travel for the city manager and Councilor Romero to attend the NALEO Policy Institution on Health, Creating Pathways Towards Latino Welfare, being taken care of in November 15th through 17th, 23. I also would like to thank whomever stays in charge.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Montoya. Second, please. Second by Ms. Casey. Roll call, please.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
I'll abstain on this one. I just wanted to note again, the reason why this is here before you is, because the city manager basically is on time during this time. Me as a council member, since it's not requesting any funding, basically I didn't need to, but I thought it was proper that, since the city manager was going, that I'd also be included in this request. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Romero.
I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, a second by Counselor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next order of business, please.
Moving on to item 4, discussion direction regarding a retention bonus for 4 communication specialists in the police department. We have our interim police chief, Mr. Caleb Marcus.
Welcome, Mr. Marcus.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Mr. Manager. So tonight, I just wanted to bring up, we had received a grant funding from the state that was released by Governor Grisham earlier last year, where it was to be used for retention or recruitment within our departments, and especially with our ongoing issues of law enforcement shortages and communication specialists within New Mexico. We were able to receive this grant, and I believe it was around $283,000 is what we received. The disbursements for the grant were given in a series of $112,500 for last year, which we used on retention for officers. During that time that it was approved for the officers, there was a contract tied to it as far as retaining the officers for a 1 year upon receiving that grant funding. Unfortunately, our communication specialist didn't qualify under the grant money that we received last year. We wanted to compensate them. We do have only 4 communication specialists at this time. We have 3 of them in attendance and 1 that's working at our street or managing the communications tonight. With that, what we're trying to do is making sure that we retain good quality staff so we could try to move forward with training new people that do come in and retaining the employees that we do have. So we're just kind of seeking direction and the approval of trying to give them the same grant, the same bonus that was received of $4,500, which we were able to find within our budget, and offer them that contract to stay with the city PD.
Thank you. Has Finance had an opportunity to review this proposal? It's going to be a reoccurring fund, right? It's not just a one-time?
It's just a one-time
Okay.
bonus, yes, sir.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor.
yes.
So on here, it says forward communication specialist for retention bonuses of 4,500 each,
Yes, sir.
but the fiscal impact is 101.4800. What is that?
Which one are you looking at, Counselor?
On the agenda? On the request?
Sorry, I don't have that in front of me. I'm not sure exactly.
Can you show it to him, Leo?
It's the fund number. It's the fund number.
It's not the dollar
It's
amount.
not the dollar amount, it's
this
the
is
fund
like a-
number.
Yeah, it's the fund,
Oh,
general fund
oh,
account.
Yeah, normally it asks for the fiscal impact there, but anyway. Okay, so let me ask you, last year when you gave the retentions, did we have any officers or were they obligated to return the fees or the bonus if they left? And has anybody left?
So
And in this case, are we doing the same thing? Are they signing up for 1 year or 2 or whatever time period? And if they don't stay with us, they refund this?
Yes, sir. So we did have two officers leave. One that we met with Mr. Arlene Arguello, who's working with legal, and we are going to seek the reimbursement of that money that to be paid back. I know we are looking at filing through the court system if that's what we have to do to retain our money back, and that'll be the same stipulations that they'll be under as well. They'll be having a time limit of 1 year to remain with us, and if they leave within that time, we will seek the same process.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
I have no other questions, and with that, if there's no discussion, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to approve this. If that's, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr.
So I called the city manager to ask him the specific language because the specific language, if he had legal look into it, and Leo, you said you hadn't at the time, right?
Counselor, that would be the next agenda item. This is the agenda item to use general fund or regular police department funds for this agenda item.
Oh, okay.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Montoya. Second, please.
Second.
Did he have questions?
Second, that was for the next agenda item.
Oh, okay.
There's a second by Ms. Casey. Roll call, please.
Counselor Livadi?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey? Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, a second by Counselor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
I'd like to take a second to recognize the job that you all do. It's a very, very difficult job. Communicating, dispatching the right people, trying to keep people cool when they're yelling at you, and you all do a great job. And it's a very, very important job in our community. And I appreciate you working with the city of Las Vegas very much.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Romero.
You know, we just approved that item, but the one thing that, and I don't know if Caleb could answer this, is that how is that $4,500 spread up? I mean, is it all? It shouldn't be all up front, right? I mean, is it broken down into certain?
So the way we did issue the grant last time, because we're running out of our funding for the 2023 fiscal year, was a one-time disbursement to the officers. In this round, I would like to at least keep it consistent, so that way they follow and what the officers received and they get the same courtesy and out of how we issued it last time too.
In these communication specialists, how many years do they have each?
So we have ranging from 19 years. So 23 years, 5 years, it's kind of in between from there.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor. I'd also like to thank our chief, Salazar, and the governor for making this funding available. In our community, the rural areas, it's hard to recruit and retain. So I appreciate the fact that they're looking at the smaller communities and funding us this kind of funding. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so
So
much.
much.
You are very much appreciated.
Next order of business, please.
Item number 5, discussion direction regarding recruitment and retention bonuses for police officers utilizing funding received from the State of New Mexico Law Enforcement Fund created by Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham. Police Chief?
So speaking on the same funding that we received at $112,500, last year we did use that as retention bonuses for certified officers and for officers that we had just brought into this, into the career. The retention fund that was given last year was to all the department as far as certified officers. We did hire uncertified officer who did receive that. Their contract was a little bit different in the time that they had to stay with the department. This year, go around for funding, what we're trying to do is take an aggressive stance to recruiting and bringing in good quality certified officers and uncertified officers who we could have some longevity within the city and find some stability. We are proposing a $12,000 sign-on bonus for certified officers, which is very well competitive with larger agencies that we can't compete with as far as monetary hourly wages, as far as Santa Fe County, even our local sheriff's offices as far as Mora and San Miguel. It is a little bit more than what they're offering, and I think moving forward, it would bring some qualified candidates to the police department, and we would be able to find some officers that we could retain for a certain amount of time, at least to find stability and bring manpower to patrol.
Mr. Mayor. Does this diminish that fund?
So it just depends. What we set up for, when we applied for the grant funding, we had 10 vacant patrol positions, and that's what the funding was based off of how much we received. So what we did is we're really aiming to hire 4 certified officers and 6 uncertified officers, and that would diminish the fund of the $112,500, and then the second disbursements of next year at the $56,000 that we'll receive next year, it'll pay the second portion of that.
So another question is, what's the vacancy right now, officers?
Officer-wise, I believe we're at 22, including our lieutenants, sergeants, agents, and officers.
And this money needs to be spent by when?
By June 30th, sir.
June?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you come back in June and let us know how many you hired out of this?
Yes, sir. And even moving forward, we have had some recruiting events going, in the last couple weeks. And we have 2 certified officers who are very interested in coming on that are going through a background process now. And we do have 1 certified officer that's ready for hire. We have multiple other uncertified officers that are coming in. I think this is a good way of retaining those officers for a good number of years, because what we're looking at doing is with that $6,000 sign-on bonus, it'll commit them to our department for 3 years. And as you guys know, the training for a law enforcement officer usually takes around 1 year until they're a solo patrol officer. And we'd be able to at least get 2 good years after that with this. And with the certified officers, there would be a 2-year commitment to the department.
With that, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to allow the police department to utilize the grant for 2-year funding for hiring bonuses. Entry level $6,000, non-certified $12,000.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Romero?
So this is where I had my question on this item. To look at the more specifics of the language of the grant, because if I look at House Bill 68, there's nothing that, so I don't know. I just want to make sure that the numbers that we're using here. And so I asked the city attorney prior to the meeting to see if he could reach out to the attorney to compare the two to make sure that we're within the grant application and actually the House bill that this was under. But I guess we didn't run it by the attorney, am I correct?
No, sir. This was an initial conversation to see where mayor and council would like to go with the option. And if it is approved, then we can obviously touch base with our attorney. We have touched base with Mrs. Gallegos in the past, which is the administrator of the grant from the state side. And she said that there is no restrictions as far as it does have to be to certified officers. That's the only restriction to recruit or retain. But we will run it by our attorney if that's the obligation of the council.
Okay, because like I said, I don't know if it is pertaining to House Bill 68, but the language there doesn't coincide with what's here. So I'm just asking, and maybe, Councilor Montoya, since you're making this motion, that it be approved based off of the approval of the attorney, that, you use this, you use the grant.
I say that if we're not in compliance, they'll let us know and they'll come back to us.
So my understanding is if we vote for this, it still has to go through legal to make sure that we're doing this right. And if we're not, legal will tell us, no, you can't do that, and it'll come back to us?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that understood, Mr. Romero?
That's where I wanted that clarification, because
Okay.
I want to just go through. I just want to make sure that it's in coordination with the grant specifically, and not, well, not only with the grant but also with the legislation that this was under.
What's the desire of the maker of the motion?
You can add it on there if you'd want. That'd be fine with me. Upon review of the attorney, city attorney.
There's a motion on the floor by, go ahead, Mr. Romero.
I'll second that.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor by Mr. Romero, second by Mr. Montoya, second by Mr. Romero.
Counselor
Roll
Casey?
call.
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, a second by Counselor Counselor Romero. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Marcus, for bringing this to us.
Thank you.
And thank you for all your hard work. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Mayor.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Montoya. Second, please. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.